ListBox Control. Well, its purpose, the ListBox Control is a user interface used to display a list of items. Users can select one or more items from the list. The list can be manipulated via a group of methods provided with the control. Some of those commonly used properties are: name. It's a unique ID to refer to a specific control and code. The border style allows for none, fixed single, or fixed 3D. Fixed 3D is the default. The enable property. Control is visible but cannot be used by the user unless this property is set to true, which is the default. There's a font property where you can specify the name size and bold. The name, of course, specifies the font you're going to be using in display text. The size displays the size of that text. And bold basically is either true or false, either it's bold or it's not bold. There's an items property, and this is the items in the list box. It is empty when you start out this list box. However, you can pre-fill it before you start your program, or you can fill it from the program with methods. More common these properties are the location. The X and Y are the horizontal and vertical positions on the form. The size is the width and the height of the control in width in pixels. Height in pixels as well. The visible property, it's true or false. It displays when set to true. It is not when set to false. And the default is true, so you normally can see this when you bring it up. The default event. The selected index change event causes code to be executed when the item in the list box is clicked by the user. Typically is used to obtain the index of the item clicked on by the user. You then can delete this item, you can change this item, whatever you want to do with it. But in other words, you have the location of where it's located in the list. Let's look at some methods. There's an add method. This adds an item to the list box. There's a remove method. It removes an item from the list box. The remove at removes an item from the list box based on an index. There's the insert method. It adds that item to the list box at a specific index location. The clear method empties the list box completely, wipes it out. The count is a method that identifies the number of items in the list box. It basically keeps count of how many items you've actually added to it or deleted when you get to nothing in there. Let's take a look and see how it actually works. I'm going to add a list box to this control, this program right here, by double-clicking the list boxes in the common controls area. We'll just pop it in there, and there it is. It comes out nicely. I can change some of the properties in this list box now. I can certainly go up and set it up where I'm going to control its name or its user ID, the ID that we're going to call it, and I'll call this thing LBX stuff. We'll simply say LBX, Hungarian notation for list box, STUFF, stuff I'm going to put into it. The other things I might want to do is I might want to go down and change its font. So I'm going to drop down there so we can see it a little bit better and simply go out here and make it bold, and I'm going to make the size 10. And now you can see that this name is a little bit brighter in there, as you can see it. I'm going to set the item height to 16. It already is set to that. And you'll see this collection area right down here. I'm going to take that collection thing. I'm going to put something in it. We'll get rid of stuff in it later, and we'll just see how this thing operates. By looking at the collection or the items, I can click on the ellipse here, and out pops this thing. I can now add things to it. So I'll set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And that has included things in the list box. You can see they're actually here now. And notice there is actually a scroll bar sitting here that allows me to peruse through it once it's actually running. The location right now is 198 and 65. I can certainly move that around if I like. By just going like that, you can see a change over here. That's essentially all I need to do to make this thing change. There's also a size parameter down here telling me how big it is. And this can be changed like this. And you can make it a lot larger then. I'm going to leave it small. That's essentially setting the thing up. Now, how do you work with it? Well, if I just turn it on right now, I'll just do a save on this thing. Save this program. And I'll run it. And what you'll see is all my items are in there, and I can scroll through it, and it's functional. I can also click on it. It doesn't do anything right now, but I can click on it. If I had set up the event for this, we could actually write some code on it, and we will. Let's close this thing off. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set up a couple number of buttons on here. I'm actually going to set up a label on top here. I'm going to put this label right here, and I'm going to call it Let's just align it like this, I think. We'll set up the lining up on it a little bit later. This is a label that I'm going to call LBL count. It's going to hold a count of what's inside this list box. And I'm going to leave the label alone, basically. Just leave it like that. Got it set up where it has no boundary whatsoever on there. I also want to grab another label and put it on here and call this one LBL selected item. In other words, when I click on something here, I'm going to give it a number. So this is the very, very first one you see in here. Number 1 is actually 0, item 0. Then there's item 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's actually one less than what y'all actually wrote in here, as you can see from that thing. So this is going to give us some ability to control what we're actually using and look and see what we actually have here. I'm going to go ahead and circle those things. I'm going to format, align their middles, their centers, I should say, sort of like that. And then I'm going to also vertical spacing, I'm going to make equal on them, so they're about roughly where they want to be here. Then I'm going to create a button, and I'm going to create the clear button first. We're going to put that thing right over here. We'll adjust all this stuff later. We'll just put it right in here right now. And the clear button is going to be just that. It's going to be button clear. It's going to have the clear word in it. That's all there is to it. I do want to set up some code for this thing right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and double click on it. This is going to allow me to reference the control that you see here by name. I'm going to say lbxstuff.items.clear. And this will wipe out whatever I have in there. We'll do a file save on this thing and run it. Here's our program coming out. We'll now clear it, and nothing's there. It's gone, period. So that will wipe it out. We also like to have a count property on here. So I'm going to grab a count property, which is another button, and lay it right in over here. And the count is going to be called button count, and it's going to have some code in it too. So I'm going to double click on it. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to say LBL count.text, which is our label. I'm going to make that equal to lbxstuff.items.count to string. So we're going to actually display that count in the file. So I'll do a file save on this thing. We'll run the program once again. It comes up and runs. We've got our stuff in there. Let's do a count. We've got 10 for our count. Let's do a clear on it, and let's do a count again. And it now shows 0. So the count property tells you whatever is in there anytime you have a list box out there at any given time. You can delete a bunch of things, add a bunch of things, and you can always get the count of what's actually in the active item. Another thing we want to try is an add. If you want to add some things in there, we're going to create an add button. And the add button is going to look something like this. All I need to do for an add button is go lbxstuff.items.add, and then you simply put the item you're adding in parentheses and quotation marks and put in Daffy, for example. Now what I can do with this, and of course a semicolon at the end of this thing, I can add a bunch of items here. You can put in a bunch of things like this. I'm just going to grab this, do a Control-C, and put it a bunch of times here. So I can add as many things as I want. Let's put some names in here and make this one equal to Tweety. This one we'll call Sylvester. This one we'll call Yosemite. This one we'll call Bugs. Make it a capital B. This one will become Porky. And we've got here a Petunia. And let's do one more. We'll make this one Elmer. And let's go ahead and save this. File save. We'll run it. Our program comes up. Once again, it's got all the stuff in there. We'll do our count. We've got 10 items in there. We'll do a clear to get rid of it. Do our count again. Then we'll do our add. Our add is going to put all these items in it. We'll do a count on that. We have 8 items in there. And as you can see, I can scroll through here. We can see all the people we actually have in here. Daffy, Tweety, Sylvester, Yosemite, Bugs, and a few others. Porky, Petunia, and Elmer. So it's very easy to add items to the list box. Normally, you'd probably be reading a file in from disk, and you'd use a loop to actually read records. So I'm doing it one line at a time, but you could have a loop in there. You would simply read and add records and pop it in there. What else can we do with this? We can remove an item from it. We can take this remove button, pop it in here, and we'll give it. We have a name up. We're calling it button remove. And what button remove does, it removes an item based on what's in there. Daffy, Tweety, Sylvester. All you need to do is say lbxstuff.items.remove, and then specify the exact spelling of what you want to get rid of. Let's get rid of bugs up there and put him in there. This will remove the word bugs from the list. Let's do file save and check that out. Here's our item again. We've got our stuff in there. We'll do our count. We'll do our clear. We'll do our add and do another count here. We're now going to take and simply hit this remove. Remember, bugs is down here. So we're going to remove him, and bang, he's gone. And we'll do a count again. This will drop from 8 to 7, and it does. Bugs is no longer in here. We can also do a remove at. A remove at has a couple of functions that you could actually use. Now let's go into the code. We can remove an item, lbx stuff.items.remove at 0. This is going to remove the first item in the list box based on the index 0 that's actually in there. So do a file save on this, do a run. This time what I'm just going to do is I'm going to clear this thing. I'm going to do our add here, and we're going to get rid of Daffy by simply saying remove at. Get rid of the 0 item. There it is. Do it again, I'll get rid of Tweety. And again, I'll get rid of Sylvester. So it'll just remove everything at the 0 item. So you can do one at a time like that. You also can do a modification to this. If we look at LBX stuff, we can actually comment this out and do a different type of remove here. What we'll say here is LBX stuff.items.remove at, and then I'll say int.parse, and I'll say LBL selected item.text. This is going to get rid of the selected item in there. Now, this is not going to work right away. I'll show you. File save, save all. We'll do a run. There's our stuff again. We'll clear it, add our guys here, and we'll do a remove at, and nothing happens. It blows up. Okay, why is that? We don't have a selected item right here. That's where our selected event needs to come into play. What I need to do is I need to go to this list box and double click on it to create an event. When I do that, it creates the LBX stuff selected index changed mode. In other words, nothing was selected before. As soon as I click on an item, one of those names on there, I get the index of that name, and I can use that name then to actually save it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say LBL selected item dot text is equal to LBX stuff selected index to string. This is going to take the item I clicked on, the index of it, to convert to a string so I can display it on my label here. Once I've got it out there, I then can start to use my remove at piece. So let's take a look at this. We'll look at this right here. We're going to go ahead and clear this thing. We're going to go ahead and add this thing. I now have a bunch of items in there, and I happen to have 8 items in there. I'm going to click on Sylvester. By clicking on Sylvester, I've found his index 2, 0, 1, 2. That means this 2 can be used for the remove at. If I remove at 2, Sylvester's gone. And we go back to a -1 in our index because nothing else is selected. If I select Tweety, I'm selecting 1, 0, 1. I can remove at, and it gets rid of him. So that's another way you can actually use the remove property to get in there. One thing you have to be concerned about was when you do a remove, you want to make sure it's not a -1. That's all you have to do is you have to test that you have a positive integer in there. So an if statement or a try catch or try is going to do it for you. The next thing we want to try is the insert at. So we're going to create another little button here called insert at. We'll call button insert at, and we'll go ahead and look at the code for this thing and create it. What we're going to do here is we're going to say LBX stuff.items.insert, and now you're going to say where. I'm going to say in 0, position 0. I want to put in the Tasmanian Devil. So basically, I'm specifying an index of the location of where I want to insert this, very, very beginning. And this is what's going to go in there. Again, you can use a loop to process these things. You can add things this way from a file or whatever you want, or you can use something to alphabetize things and bring them in that way. Let's see if this works. Do a file save. We'll do a start. We'll clear this again. We'll do our count. And we'll do an insert ad. Oh, I'm going to do an ad. Let's do an ad first. And then do a count. We've got our 8 items there. We're now going to add Tasmanian Devil at the very, very beginning of this thing. So we'll do an insert ad. And bang. He gets popped in right before Daffy. I could make this wider, as you can see, so I can see the whole word. I didn't, but you have that option to actually make this a bigger list box if you want. And so that puts our insert at in there. And that basically sums up what the list box does. I can go ahead and make this look a little prettier, of course, by simply taking these guys and formatting them to make their horizontal spacing, vertical spacing equal. And then I can maybe bring this up a little bit. Or actually bring it up like this. Take this and modify or format a line. Actually, what I think I did, I think I just screwed something up because I got my label back here too. I do have a label back here. There it is. And we can fix that later. We'll just go ahead and do this first. Let's do this. Click on all 3 of these things. There it is. And put vertical spacing on these things. Make it equal. There they are. And now let's go ahead and align, bring the whole works up like this so that my list box is now even with this thing right here. We can now shrink this thing down, this form down, bring this over, take the whole works, format center on the form horizontally, and format center on the form vertically. And roughly we have this. It looks kind of much better now, and we can now save it and run it. And this is what it looks like at this point in time. So we can do it. We can actually remove 1 or 3 if we want. We can remove that and get rid of that thing like that. So that's how that thing works. We can clear it, do our count, do our add, do our count again, insert Tasmanian Devil, do our count again. We go up to 9, and we're controlling this thing just nicely. Step on this thing again so we know where we're looking at. We're looking at number 4 now, all the way down the bottom. Elmer is number 8, and Tasmanian Devil is number 0. So we actually get that count here. So that change event happens every time you click on it. That's ListBox in a nutshell.